Hey everyone, Mario again, coming at you with another episode of Theater. It's the series where I talk about my experience seeing a film on the big screen, either a film that I enjoy or love already, or it's a film that I've been meaning to see that just happens to be playing on a big screen on a big screen near me. In this episode of this series, I am going to talk about my experience seeing a film that I saw for the first time a couple years ago. Since then, unfortunately, I haven't gone back and rewatched it yet, but I heard it was going to be at the Regal Cinema near me, so I'm like, what the hell, I'll go see it. I mean, it's not the last day of work, but it's not going to be too late, and I'll be able to get enough sleep. It, of course, is the Robert Rodriguez directed, Quentin Tarantino written film starring George Clooney, From Dusk Till Dawn. Crime, action, horror, black comedy. Gotta love it. Now, before the film started proper, they had a little interview with both Rodriguez and Quentin Tarantino. And it was a fun interview. I didn't really clock the time, but it seemed to be about 20 minutes, give or take. And they talk all about the making of the film. Quentin mentioned it was his first paid writing job. That before that he would just write for fun, like write some screenplays, get like 30, 40 pages in, get another idea, go to another one. But with this one, he was really motivated, partially due to, getting paid more for this job than what he made in a year at that point in the video store he worked at. And of course, it also enabled him to quit his job at the video store. The ideas for the vampire stuff at the end come from the guy who hired him to write the film, because he was a special effects guy. He's like, oh, we need stuff like this. But other than that, he was given freedom other than the basic idea. And he mentioned that the final script, people did like it, but because of its unusual nature, the thing that we remember it for, and that is the first part of the film being normal, then when they reach the bar and vampires start coming out of nowhere, the film kind of shifts. It goes from being this film that looks like it's going to be a fully serious crime drama to all of a sudden being action black comedy with the vampires in there, so a little bit of supernatural element. And even the characters are like, there's fucking vampires, man. The thing that makes the film so enjoyable is what really took it a long time to get made. It was only because Quentin Tarantino struck gold with Reservoir Dogs. It played for 2 days, Sunday and then Wednesday. I went on the Wednesday showing. And watching the film on the big screen, I do appreciate it a little bit more. And it also makes me miss the old way films are made. And I don't just mean, acting and film techniques, special effects techniques, but I miss the way they kind of look on the screen. Everything now looks a little bit too clean, which I understand, and film evolves, but it's like I still miss it, and it makes me wish every once in a while a filmmaker would go and use some of the older techniques. I know some of them still do, like I know Tarantino has with his films, and I think he's one of the few, but that's why if I ever do get into filmmaking, I think I probably would, at least for like certain films, like if I did a period piece set in the 80s or something, I would use something like this to give it the feel. Or if I did a throwback film, I definitely would do something to give it the feel. Depending, maybe a lot what they did with Grindhouse, but I think it would depend on the producers whether I'm able to go that far with it. But enough of that potential rambling. Clooney, Cattell, Lewis, Marin in his 3 roles, Hayek, they all do good acting performances in the film for what they have to do, especially Clooney. Especially at the time in the film, when the film was made, he was doing ER, and here it's a completely different character from his character there. When people, if people were to complain about Clooney as an actor, I would point to this film, and then I would point to Up in the Air. And try to say he's a bad actor and watching this. I don't think many people do complain about him as an actor, other than how he is in Batman and Robin, but that's more the studio's fault, because I don't think he really was that bad a Batman and Bruce Wayne, all things considered. I mean, there was some stuff to be desired, but that's more script problems than him. Though I'd say of the two, he probably played Bruce Wayne a little bit better, but that's because it's a little easier to pull off a serviceable Bruce Wayne with the script they got. Anyway, back to this one. Cheech Marin, I actually forgot he did triple duty in this film. I knew he did double duty, I forgot he did triple. He does the border guard, which is most reserved performance in the whole film. Then he has Chet Pussy, where he has that big speech. We got hairy pussy. We got black pussy, white pussy. I don't see it. That had the audience rolling. Which, on a side note, until the 10 minutes before showtime, I was the only person in that theater. I was thinking, dang, am I going to be the only person sitting in this theater watching this film? That'd be sad. But before showtime started, about 5, 6, 7 other people came in. So it wasn't an empty house, but it's like, yeah, if people came to see this, they probably mostly came on Sunday. I mean, it's a work night, so I can understand. But anyway, side point over. Tom Savini, it was great to see him in there. The special effects for all the vampires, I really appreciate them a lot more seeing this film on the big screen, and it makes me really miss full-on practical effects, which is why I do appreciate when a film like The Force Awakens does it. I mean, I don't mind CGI when it's used sparingly and used for stuff that it's supposed to be used, like its subtle usage and background stuff, but when they use it as the main thing for all its visual effects, a la what they did with the Thing prequel, it annoys the shit out of me, because it's like, okay, we know both of them are fake, but when it's a makeup, costume, or even something like stop motion and there's something actually in the camera, it has a charm to it that CGI has yet to achieve. Because even when it's a bad practical effect, it still has a little bit of a charm depending on how it's done. I mean, even the giant claw has its own weird charm because of how bad that puppet is. But with bad CGI, there's hardly any charm to it. I mean, the CGI for Malbogia and Spawn is just atrocious. The only charm about it is the fact that Malbogia is voiced by Frank Welker, but you're kind of distracted a little bit by the fact that the CGI is atrocious and his mouth doesn't even match the voice. Back to the main thing, the score by, I'm probably going to mispronounce his name, Graham Reville. Excellent. I'd actually forgot it. Not my favorite of his, though, but serviceable. And, of course, the use of the song, It's a Dark Night, dun, 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 dun. Perfect way to set the stage for this film. And like I said, perfect way to blend genres. And another thing I forgot to mention earlier in this is that apparently the whole thing about the bar being built into the top of an Aztec Temple wasn't in the original script. Apparently it was just a random bar. It was when they were building the set in pre-production, and when production was beginning on the shooting part of the film, that Tarantino and Rodriguez were talking, and then they're like, you know what? It would be interesting if this was the top of an Aztec temple, and then, you know, we'd get that good shot at the end where it pulls back and we see the back of the temple and all that. And I'm like, well played, guys. That actually works. Because it does add a little bit of, give an answer of like, what the heck, where are all these vampires coming from? How are they out here in the middle of nowhere? Though it does beg the question, how come no trucker or biker have noticed that this is a temple? Hasn't anyone ever gone outside to drain the lizard because somebody's been in the bathroom too long? Or do they not hang around too long and usually got killed? It's one of those things. It's one of those few questions you ask, but then you're like, yeah, some people probably have, but then the vampires have probably gotten them. I mean, you got Danny Trejo as the bartender, which just him in the vampire makeup, now that's intimidating. Oh yeah, and then Cheech Marin's last role is the guy that the Gecko brothers actually came to see. And I have to say, this is probably my favorite of Tarantino's acting performances. I mean, he's not the best actor in the world. I mean, you're not going to see him win any awards, but he's serviceable, especially for his cameos. But this is definitely his best one, and it was Rodriguez's idea for him to take up the role of Richie, and I'm glad he did. Him and Clooney do have a weird chemistry, I think, because their acting styles are definitely drastically different. Clooney is definitely the better actor, and their characters are written so differently that their styles fit that character, and it just meshes well, and you really do believe them. Like the scenes where they're talking to each other is like, yeah, you do believe these two as brothers, and how Clooney plays his Gecko brother, you're like, okay, he kind of deserved to hit Richie in the face there. And then his reaction to what Richie does or what he's planning to do is like really, you got to keep your brother in check a little bit more. Yeah, good thing you're keeping him in check. A lot of the other characters in the bar, they only have like minor backstories, but it fits for this part of the film being so ridiculous. The only ones that really need set backstories are our main ones that we follow to the bar. As Tarantino said, he was so loving the characters as he was writing the film that he's like, you know, I gotta make this a bit longer, and I'm glad he did, because by the time they get to the bar, you really care for these characters. I mean, you care for Catel's character, and you feel for why he's no longer a preacher. You don't mind his kids. The only question they never ask is why, they never answer, is why one of his kids is Chinese. And I think we see a brief picture of his wife. I don't remember if she's Chinese as well, but there's always the thing, he's probably adopted. They do the usual joke like, what's the Jap? It's like, he doesn't look Japanese, he looks Chinese. Oh, excuse me. And watching it again, it just reinforced why I love Tarantino's dialogue. He's a master of dialogue writing in his films. Some of it is putting in something he's probably always wanted to hear people talk about in a film, like his whole pilot speech from Pulp Fiction, but a lot of stuff in this film really does fit the scenes it's in. And the Gecko brothers, you kind of like them, but at the same time you hate them because of the stuff they're doing. I mean, they kill the one cop at the beginning. Well, Richie does technically for no reason. And what they did that they mentioned that they did off screen. You really wanna, you're like, do we really want to like these guys? But as the film goes on, you're like, yeah, they're the hero, but I guess you say he's kind of an anti-hero. And then that whole thing they mentioned in the interview at the beginning, that the whole thing with Richie and the one daughter character, that she tries to warn him before Hayek's character does something, and it's like, okay, is the audience really going to buy this warning? I guess it's up to us to pace it right, and if they do, I guess I'm doing my job as a storyteller right, and it does work. But I think mainly because of the fact that the daughter sees Hayek's character turn into this supernatural thing, so it puts the whole little tension between the geckos and the family on hold for now, because the supernatural element has just entered the film. So on that element it works, even though she does know, like we do, that Richie does have some bad intentions towards her. Anyway, I'm not going to turn this into like a full review. I have an older review of this film up on the page already, and one of these days I'll probably do a Mark Talks Cinema episode dedicated to it, maybe next October. I hate that I only got 3 reviews done this year for Monster Fest, but hey, 3 is better than nothing, and I also got some other variety up on the page with it, but it definitely comes with my recommendation if you haven't seen it, and if Regal Entertainment Group ever does put this film back on the big screen again for a day or two, I say you definitely should watch it.